Hey everybody, welcome back to James Draws Everything, continuing our series where we're drawing every country in the world's flag. Today, gonna go back to Africa, doing another country that I'm really not a huge fan of at all. We're gonna be doing Zimbabwe. Alright, so Zimbabwe is kind of in the southern part of Africa, bordering South Africa, Mozambique, Botswana, and Zambia. It is landlocked. Zimbabwe, relatively newer country, kind of comes after the decolonization period in Africa. It was the British colony of Southern Rhodesia, then an independent state of Rhodesia, and then kind of in 70s into the 80s, it becomes Zimbabwe. And don't you worry, we'll go over all of that as we talk about Zimbabwe here. It does have a longer flag, so I'm just going to extend my lines for that. Give me just a second here. Okay, so we'll erase those. Hey, you can tell I made a Hobby Lobby trip today, right? Got me a new dust brush. Gotta have one of those. Keep everything nice and clean here. Okay, so I just want to find the middle here because does have a white triangle in the flag on the hoist side. And then as I'm kind of just mapping out where I want things to be, I'll give you a little history on Rhodesia. So Rhodesia, one of the earlier civilizations there was people of the Bantu tribes. They kind of expanded into that region around 500 AD. And the Bantus were there for a few hundred years. They did expel Portuguese settlers, but then they were conquered by neighboring Zulu tribes in the 19th century. Later on in the 19th century, the 1880s to be exact, the British South Africa Company comes in, and they turn, they already had a Republic of South Africa, well, not really a republic, a colony of South Africa at that point in history. They were looking to do the same with Rhodesia, so it becomes a colony of Southern Rhodesia and becomes one of the richest countries in the world. Beautiful architecture there, conservation, nature, all of that. Rhodesia, though, unfortunately becomes a target of the international community, and kind of later on into the Cold War, a lot of African independence movements weren't really organic. A lot of it was communist subversion, right? So that's how the communists always worked. They sold communism on the back of anti-imperialism, and there's really no greater form of imperialism and slavery than communism. Rhodesia was not segregated, though. Rhodesia is actually misrepresented a lot in media and just kind of history in general. There was a lot of like the native blacks in the area could participate in the government, but Rhodesia actually had kind of they did have like a gradual system in place where they wanted to educate, like as far as like politics and things like agriculture, mineral production, all that kind of stuff. So they wanted them to be involved with that and coexist. And you never really hear that part because they always just tell you that it was more like South Africa, where there was like an apartheid system in place, which isn't really true at all. And even South Africa's a little bit more complicated than that. So yeah, it does have kind of kind of a messy flag here. There's a lot going on, so let's just kind of take my time here and make sure everything's nice and straight. But yeah, Rhodesia, again, I alluded to this before, they become a target of the international community. And they're, it's them against the world, basically. So, you know, again, height of the Cold War, you know, the major world powers are the First World and the communists, right? So the communists hated Rhodesia, of course, because they wanted to import communism into the area, which they did, unfortunately. And the First World, the Western powers, were against Rhodesia as well because they were already pretty socialist themselves, and Rhodesia was kind of the last bastion of like the true Britain, the true British people. So Great Britain was already, again, not a communist, but a very socialist country. They, you know, pretty much went bankrupt, lost their entire empire after World War II. And everyone likes to talk about the soft socialist years of Labour and like Clement Attlee. And no, that actually happened under Churchill. Churchill set the ground for all of that stuff. So yeah, he lost the entire empire. He laid the groundwork for all these socialist policies. He had socialists in his government. Churchill was he was not the hero that he's made out to be by any means whatsoever. So Rhodesians saw themselves as, you know, kind of having the last kind of spirit of, you know, adventurism, exploration, you know, taming the unknown. A big reason why Africa was called the Dark Continent was just because so much of it was unmapped. Nobody really knew what was there, and you know, the adventurous spirit of those people, you know, decided to go out and not conquer the world like the communists, but, you know, bring some of that British culture to other parts of the world. And again, they did. They were smarter than they're given credit for, right? Because you always see, like, you know, in the United States, you know, there's a very violent civil war to end slavery, and I know, you know, they didn't have slavery in Rhodesia, but I guess what I'm trying to get at is when you get into these leftists like Jacobin, French Revolution, Haitian Revolution, like these type of politics, your country doesn't exist on a piece of paper, right? There's a reason why certain countries developed political institutions the way that they did. And I mean, I guess this is like, oh, this is a right-wing talking point now. This actually used to be a liberal talking point, you know, not even 20 years ago, right? During the height of like Middle Eastern adventurism, I guess you would call it. You know, they would say that, you know, you can't just go over there and put new governments into place. These people have their own right to, you know, decide their fate and whatnot. And I mean, that's a little more complicated too, of course. You know, you can't look at anything in just one lens like that. But yeah, they used to actually say that, but I think they were more just like an anti-American anything than any kind of idealism or whatever. But yeah, where was I? I get sidetracked a lot. Sorry, guys. Yes. So yeah, the entire international community unites against Rhodesia because, you know, because there was no more tolerance for that kind of spirit, that kind of you know, the Christian European civilization was basically destroyed after World War II, and Rhodesia fought against it, but you know, they had a gradual plan to, you know, democratize the entire country. It's just, again, kind of like what I was alluding to before with like all those leftist revolutions that ended in absolute chaos and starving and suffering, like the Haitian Revolution, like the French Revolution. Yeah, so they wanted to, you know, teach the natives there the way, and, you know, kind of why they have, you know, peace and production and things like that, economic production, but it's not just economics. Yeah, so Rhodesia, it fights against this for as long as it can. It eventually is taken over by communists, unfortunately. Robert Mugabe, he had a lot of communist backing, and he had a lot of backing from the Western world, too. Because remember, this is like the civil rights era, so everybody should have equal rights no matter what. Even though Rhodesia did not have segregation, again, there was a plan in place to integrate these people into their society. And this was not like there was a lot of armed conflict and stuff that took place during these uprisings, and this was not a black versus white thing either. This was a Rhodesian versus communist thing. So, for example, there's a lot of black Rhodesians that would much rather prefer to be in Rhodesia than under Mugabe's Zimbabwe, because they actually fought for it. The RARs, right? The RAR guys. Rhodesian African Rifles was a black, why am I not thinking of the name? What do you call a regiment? Is that the right word? They're like a black regiment that fought with the native Rhodesians against communist insurrection. And, again, unfortunately, the story of Rhodesia does end in tragedy. The state is taken over by Mugabe. And for all this crap about democracy and democratic institutions and equal say and all this, Mugabe was president from the 80s until 2017, right? So this guy, I can't remember if he died in office or not, but if he didn't die in office, it was very shortly after he left. He was president for life, and the country went to hell in a handbasket, like overnight, basically. Rhodesia was one of the most productive countries in all of Africa, right? So they were the breadbasket of Africa, and there's a big there was like a big push to feed starving Africa in the 1980s. And I remember being like a kid in school, and they would always teach you that, this is because, shoot, I think I'm using the wrong pen here. Let me change the width on that. They teach you that was because, they all live in deserts and they can't grow anything. Or no, that's not really true. It's because they all went communist and they lost their food supply. So because Rhodesia was the breadbasket of Africa, and all these other African nations were pretty much already communist by the 60s. A lot of people starved in Africa because Rhodesia was one of their main sources of food. So yeah, just like the Haitian Revolution, they killed all the farmers, they killed the productive class, the communists. And again, not a black versus white thing. This was a communist versus Rhodesians thing. Rhodesians were black and white. So yeah, Africa starved, Rhodesia starved. Rhodesia went into massive, did I say massive? Hyperinflation. Currency completely worthless. Zimbabwe, not Rhodesia. So right now you can look at, I don't know if I made that clear or not. So it becomes Zimbabwe under Mugabe. So Rhodesia's done. Their currency is absolutely worthless. You can buy it right now. You can buy like a safe full of millions and millions of Zimbabwe dollars for like $20 on eBay if you look. Because, you have to have stuff to trade. You have to export so you can import, right? That's how free markets work. That's how trade works. Rhodesia produced Zimbabwe. I got to keep catching yourself here, James. I know you messed up a lot on that Macedonia episode, this nomenclature. Zimbabwe, had nothing to produce because they murdered all the productive people. And you think that would be a lesson to be learned, right? So, you don't do that, right? Because then you get nothing but pain and suffering and agony and societal collapse. But neighboring South Africa is pretty much doing the exact same thing right now. So, lesson, I guess, is never learned with leftist policies. Worthless money, no food, everyone's starving, everyone's suffering, constant armed conflict. Even their neighbors are suffering because of these decisions. But that's how Rhodesia became Zimbabwe. So I am not a fan of this country at all. I am a fan of Rhodesia. What does the flag mean? The green means the agriculture, which they don't have any. The yellow means the mineral wealth, which when they chased off all the productive class, they had nobody to mine mineral wealth either. So that doesn't really mean anything. The red means the blood of independence. Well, there is that. The black means the native people. The red star, they say it means peace. That's a communist red star. We know what that means. And James, it has your favorite thing in it. It has a Zimbabwe burb, and yeah, you know, even the burb doesn't really sway my opinion on this flag. I don't like it. Too many colors, looks ugly. Even the burb can't save it. That's how you know. That's how you know this is not on the James Draws Everything Greatest Hits album here. Not one of my favorite countries. So now that we did Zimbabwe, I want to end on a high note. So let's do the flag. Let's do the flag of Rhodesia. And this one is very, very complicated. All right, so it's got two like gazelle looking things here. Let's draw those. And I'm going to do it pretty simple because, you know, this is one of those like 19th century kind of European style flags. So the crests or the emblems, whatever you want to call them, are insanely detailed. But yeah, and as I'm doing this, it's even got like a lion in there. All right, this is tricky. As I'm doing this, my fans, a little bit of a update on the current state of Zimbabwe. So in 2019, you know, Mugabe's dead now. He's gone. They've had a little bit of turmoil since then. I don't think it's ever really settled down as far as what exactly is going to happen in that country. But they did offer remittances to the white farmers that fled the country because they're starving and they need to eat. So they offered, you know, to give them money to come back to the country and help rebuild. But and here's actually the same burb of that's on the Zimbabwe flag is up here on that Rhodesian crest. And it was used in a brief interim period, I guess, when it was British or Rhodesian Zimbabwe before it became full-blown dump Zimbabwe. All right, so do some of that. And yeah, so they want the farmers to come back, but I mean, like they massacred you. You know, they killed your parents, probably your grandparents, your ancestors. Once you break trust, I mean, trust can be irrevocably broken, you know. We'll see, you know, if they want to have productive people come back into the country and they're hands off with it and just let them do their own thing. I mean, because, you know, Rhodesia, before the Europeans settled there, was just basically untamed wilderness, right? There was no state there. There was nothing. Just scattered tribes here and there. So if somebody has the gumption to do that, some adventurous types, that could be something to watch going forward. But yeah, again, who knows? Communism's dead now. You know, I know there are 4 countries that are still technically communist, and you know there is some Chinese expansion into that area, but China's never really expanded like physically. So you know they put infrastructure projects and stuff there. So that could be an interesting thing to watch if Africa becomes a hot spot for like a U.S. versus China. You know, kind of like a second scramble for Africa period. Yeah, that could be something. Who knows? But yeah, history does not repeat itself. That's a lie, but it does rhyme an awful lot. So we could see similar things happen. Yeah, because I've kind of touched on this in some of my other videos. Africa should not be ignored going forward. You know, they do have one of the youngest populations in the world. There's still plenty of opportunities there, you know, for adventurous types to go and make money, set up businesses and stuff, because they do want it there. It's just you have a lot of trouble with corruption and local governments and whatnot, you know, taking all that stuff. But if you get rid of those, and who knows, place to watch in the 21st century. So yeah, let me get my pen back out here, and we'll just kind of draw. So they got the horns. He's got like a mane over here. He's holding the crest. And there's his tail popping out. And I'm just going to do this real quick because I know we're kind of Kind of running low on time here. I've already spent a lot of time talking about Zimbabwe and Rhodesia, but it is one of those countries though that's kind of dear to my heart, because it's yeah, it was just completely destroyed for basically no reason, and the people there continue to suffer. Again, it's not really like a Europeans versus Africans thing. This was a communist war. This was an ideological war, and the West should be ashamed of itself because they, stood aside and let this place burn to the ground. It's one of the poorest countries in the world now. Their money's worth nothing. And yeah, that's communism for you. Sold on the back of, anti-imperialist rhetoric, but what you get on the other side of that is often much, 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 much worse. Okay, so, and it's got like one of those little emblem looking things on the bottom. I don't know what this means. It says sit nomine digna. Yeah, and I'm not going to write that either. There you go. You get a general idea. And whew, there's more. Jeez, more leaves. More like, I'm guessing this is some kind of local plant or something, but and it's got like the little flowers going up. Jeez, James, there's more and more and more. We still got the burb. Still got that burb that's right over here on that Zimbabwe flag. Same burb, same basic outline. Sitting on the same thing. I don't know, is that like a crown or something? Cecil Rhodes was basically the patriarch of Rhodesia. So if you ever heard, I'm not going to get into him because that's a lot of mixed opinions on that guy. It's a complicated topic. But yeah, if you ever heard of like the Rhodes scholars, if you're a Rhodes scholar, that comes from Rhodesia. Yeah, the last true British outpost, the last of the actual British spirit, which is basically dead in the water now. And then it's just got like the color bars on the side here, so I'm not even gonna be clean with this because just give you the general idea. But yeah, remember when all flags kind of used to look like this, right? All your European flags had these crazy intricate crests and logos and designs and coat of arms. That's the word I was looking for, coat of arms. And Rhodesia also produced, if you're a dog lover, which who isn't, the Rhodesian Ridgeback. That's another product of that British spirit, that ingenuity, that desire to tame the unknown, the wild. The Rhodesian Ridgeback was bred to corral lions in Rhodesia. So tough beast, very muscular dog, but some of the nicest dogs you'll ever meet. I know a couple of Rhodesian Ridgebacks. I don't even know if they still have Rhodesian Ridgebacks in Zimbabwe. I mean, they probably eat them for all I know. But there we go. All right, everybody. And believe it or not, I actually have more to say, but I'm going to cut it short because this is definitely one of the longer videos. Very intricate flag for Rhodesia. That's gone now. Unfortunately, no more Rhodesia, but we do have Zimbabwe. So let me know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you on the next video.